their interview. General Russel, retired Army General Russel Honoré, will be with us. And you guys may remember him. Most of you do remember him from the tragedy of Katrina. So we'll have a chance to talk with him in the 7 o'clock hour. And then our good friend Mike Nellis, strategist and host of the podcast, Endless Urgency, tongue got tied. So looking forward to having both of those gentlemen with us this morning. It'll be an exciting morning. We got a bunch of things to share with you, things that took place over the weekend, some a number of articles and news items that I want to bring to your attention so that you guys can stay plugged in, which is what we always like to do. But right now, as we kick things off December 1st, check this out, progressives.
Trump and Republicans are completely falling apart. They've been a total failure from the beginning of the year, broken their core promise, which was to drive down the high cost of living. Costs are going up, housing costs out of control, child care costs out of control, grocery costs out of control, electricity bills through the roof, and now they continue to refuse to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, meaning they're going to make health care unaffordable for tens of millions of folks. At the same time, they're unleashing this incredible extremism on the American people. Donald Trump is deeply unpopular. They got wiped out in elections all across the country, up and down the ballot, from New Jersey to New York to Virginia to Pennsylvania to Georgia to Mississippi to California, and at all points in between. And now you've got Republicans who are ready to get out of town before sundown. And I think these reports that Republicans are going to follow Marjorie Taylor Greene to the exit, these are all consistent with some of the things that we're hearing in the United States House of Representatives when we're on the floor.
Republicans are not doing the work. I had a chance yesterday to hang out with the folks in the family meeting, Eric Grant and Adrian, and that was cool to hang out with them. We talked a lot about how we observe the Republicans and how many of them are, they're not there for the fight. They're not there to do the work. And Representative and Minority Leader Jeffries is clearly telling that same story, talking about that same truth. Republicans right now in the House of Representatives, this is why I caution everybody to be careful when you say, the Congress isn't working. Okay? Be careful with that, because you want to be specific. A part of Congress is not working, and that's the Republican Party, the GOP members. And this announcement a week ago Friday that Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's resigning and she's leaving at the after the new year, January 5th. That's who they've been. This should be no surprise to anyone, in my opinion. The Republican Party has, I say it all the time, and we do it. It's almost like we've become Pavlov in this situation, where we say we know the Democrats aren't perfect. We get that. And so in some ways we have to stop saying that, because it's a given. It's the Republican Party guys that this turmoil is at their feet, whether it be the bill that was passed this summer, whether it be allowing Trump to go unquestioned when it comes to the tariffs and the damage that they're causing and will continue to cause to individuals and to businesses, whether it be this overreach when it comes to religion and politics right now. That's coming from the GOP, whether it be the covering up or the avoiding of dealing with the Epstein files and that the harm that was done to those young women, those girls. Those are just some things that come to my immediate brain, but the list is even longer. I think most importantly, or certainly highly important, is the fact that their constituents, and some may challenge me on this, and I respect that, their constituents are not getting the things that they should be getting from the folks that they elected. And so I guess there's a couple of sides of this. One of them is the representatives they're not doing the work, but the constituents voted for them. So the constituents should be, the voters in those districts, those congressional districts, should be yelling the loudest. So, I haven't gone and visited one. We've talked to some of the representatives, Congresswoman Kelly and others that have gone to districts and actually talked with people in red districts about what they need, what they want. And I've been and still will be a big advocate of Democrats need to go, whether it be a state legislator or a federal member of Congress, needs to go into red districts and talk to the people or red voting districts and talk to the people there about what they can do as a state legislator or as a federal member of Congress to make things better for the people in those communities. Because now the Republicans, so I guess the through line is we knew that they weren't going to do anything, and what they would do would be harmful. That box, unfortunately, has been checked. And now we see that, to what Minority Leader Jeffries said, now they're running for the hills. Some of them are supposedly, apparently, allegedly, whatever, going to be following Marjorie Taylor Greene in terms of resigning. We don't know that for a fact. I mean, maybe this week we'll maybe get some more detail and more texture on this. I don't know. But the fact that it's even here's the conversation. The fact that it's even out there should be a problem for the people in those districts. And I said this last week, that the list of who they are that are thinking about it should be publicized. Once that information is out there, then the Democratic, a Democratic congressperson from that state, assuming that there is one, should go to that district. Let's just say it's a neighboring district, and immediately start talking to the people in that district about how you've been let down, how your elected official, your Republican elected official, has failed you. I think it's so much of an opportunity, and I've said this so many times. There's so many tools that the Democrats have that they just have to use. They have to wield them, and this is one of the things we talked about a little bit on the family meeting yesterday. Will the Democrats, when back in power, effectively wield those tools? Will they effectively say, "It's you voted against and you voted for," which I believe is got to be part of the conversation. We can vote against the craziness and all the carnage and all the pain that they're inflicting, or that they're standing by and letting be inflicted. And we can vote for Democrats having plans and ideas and structure to fix these things, what they will get done. I think that's a huge opportunity right now for the Democratic Party across the board, federal and state, and even on a local level. Talk about what the Republicans have done to fail you, and then what we're going to do to help you. It's not rocket science. And with all that they put out there, it's pretty doggone easy. So thanks to Minority Leader Jeffries for talking about the House floor. The GOP side of the House floor is collapsing potentially. And this is the opportunity for us to do the things that we said that we are going to do for the American people. So let's take a break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Whoa. More fiber?
What?
Down here, buddy. It's me, your spoon. Constipation with belly pain still coming back?
Yeah.
Talk to your doctor. It could be irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C, but Linzess could help you get ahead of it.
Linzess linaclotide is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Talk to your doctor and say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Listen, I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving weekend and was able to hang out with friends and family and all that good stuff and do it in a safe way. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second in terms of the safety. I want to give a shout out to a couple of friends of ours that were in town and been on the road from Minneapolis, Mike and Lori. If you're back on the road, please be safe in driving. Even though most of the snow has been plowed and the streets and the roads and the highways are clear, if you guys are on the road, be safe. And anybody else that's commuting today, this is going to be Uncle Richard doing what I do, Henry. If you're commuting by car, give yourself a little extra time. Let the car warm up. Get that little bit of latent snow off the car if you didn't get out and do it over the weekend. And if you're taking public transportation, please be careful, y'all. When you step onto the bus, step off of the bus, onto the train, off of the train, out of the Uber or the Lyft or whatever car you might be taking, the taxi, be careful. Give yourself a couple extra seconds. You know, what happens, Henry? Do you know what time of year is one of the biggest losses? It's during wintertime, during snow time. You know what people lose a lot during this time of year? Gloves. You know why? Because they get in the car or they get in a taxi or whatever, and we take our gloves off. We're on our phone, and we put our gloves on our lap or on the seat, but more than likely on our lap. And then we get to our destination, and what happens? We put our phone away, we pay the taxi or whatever. We click the confirm, and just step out of the car. Get 2 blocks away, and the gloves where are my gloves? They're either in the taxi or they're on the street, and they've been run over by a CTA bus or a bus wherever you are in the country, and now they're all sloshing and messy. So put your gloves away. Tuck them in your backpack, your purse, or your whatever you're carrying. But just all I'm saying, guys, and I will say this a lot over the next 3 months. Just be careful in your commute when we've got crazy weather anywhere in the country, but particularly if you're in the upper Midwest right now, because it's that time of year. We got a lot of snow here in Chicago, and to that end, in terms of the lot of snow that we got, just sort of check this out. The Saturday snow breaks a record in Chicago, according to the National Weather Service. And we woke up to. I was joking around about this. We woke up to a winter wonderland like conditions with the snowfall on Saturday and Sunday, and it was confirmed that it was a record of 8.4 inches of snow, the highest snowfall on a single calendar day in November since when? 1951. Yeah, exactly. Some people weren't even alive then, like me. But snow was let's see, 8.1 inches was confirmed. Lots of flights were canceled, as you guys know. Over 1,300 flights canceled at Midway at O'Hare, and over 250 at Midway. So weather advisory. Experts are saying we're going to get some more snow today. So just be careful. Just be smart. If you're in the Chicagoland area or in other cities that have this, be mindful of the overnight parking guidelines. There are many cities that have, once the weather changes, the winter overnight parking, it becomes less available. So don't get towed or a ticket because you parked in a location that doesn't allow for overnight parking when there's snow. So just, again, just be mindful of that. Let's hit them with a couple of Choose Views news items this December 1st, Henry. Airbus apologizes as carriers race to fix a glitch. Airlines, including American and Delta, said that they had fixed or nearly fixed a software glitch affecting their fleets of Airbus A320 jets that took over the weekend after the plane maker issued a partial recall on Friday. I want to sincerely apologize to all of our airline customers and passengers who were impacted. That's coming from the Airbus CEO, Guillaume Fauré. The recall came just ahead of the busy U.S. holiday traffic weekend, followed an unintended loss of altitude on a JetBlue flight that injured 10 passengers. Farming jobs are undergoing an AI shift. The agriculture industry is looking to new technologies to make farming more cost efficient and precise, and hopefully entice more young people into the field, according to the Washington Post. From AI-driven weed detection to soil analysis, new technologies could help shift farm work from labor-intensive, backbreaking manual labor to managing a swarm of robots, according to one professor of environmental economics. AI could also aid agricultural sustainability efforts, though concerns about job displacement and overall environment impact of AI technology still remains to be reviewed. Bore-out joins burnout as a concern for companies. Everyone has the occasional slow day at work, but a persistent lack of meaningful tasks can drain energy, motivation, and focus, quietly hurting productivity. It's a trend being called bore-out, and it's combining with burnout to cost companies money, according to Inc. magazine. A study in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine found that the financial hit from, quote, disengagement and burnout ranged from an average of $4,000 for hourly employees to more than $20,000 for executives last year. And last but not least, Goodwill gets a makeover and their sales soar. An ongoing effort by Goodwill to revamp its thrift stores appears to be paying off. Last year, the company says its shoppers spent a record $5.5 billion at its North American locations. That's 37% more than the previous high set in 2019. Due to strong sales, the company has been able to expand its retail footprint. Last year, Goodwill opened 42 net new stores. Location is key as the company targets affluent neighborhoods whose donors are known to drop off designer items, often in very good condition. And I'm a Goodwiller. We definitely make our way to Goodwill and try to make our contributions as best we can. So there you go. A couple quick Choose Views news items. So holiday season shopping, all that's happening, and I know that there was a big push for the Black Day blackout, and many companies had sort of changed their investment, if you will, in their holiday advertising. I think one of the things that I noticed is the offset, how companies somewhat have offset that. And what I mean by that is a lot of companies started earlier than I don't know what normal is anymore, but started earlier than what I recall from previous years in terms of their advertising and their early displays, or earlier having their displays out earlier in different locations. And I noticed that this year, and what the data is showing is that many companies were anticipating a slowing in the traditional after Black Friday sales between now and Christmas. And so it seems as though many companies started earlier for largely that reason. We can circle that back to tariffs. We can circle that back to a couple of other things that have come from the federal administration. And certainly the cost of goods is more, the cost of items, goods and services that are that peak up during the holiday season has definitely been more, and it's been at a greater expense. We've talked about this before. Vice President Harris said this would happen during the election last year. She made it clear that Christmas was going to be more expensive. The holiday season was going to be more expensive if Donald Trump had a second term in office, and here we are. Driven by stupidity, driven by arrogance, driven by the need to serve his masters, which are the upper 1%, or the upper percentages, and those who help fund and finances not only his campaign, but have stood idly by and just collected more and more money rather than making it easier for the consumers that drive their businesses to actually afford the things that are part of their businesses. So that cycle has been I guess you could say, terribly enhanced by this current administration. But I am going somewhere with this, and that is the other thing that I forgot to say that has also, in some ways, has impacted how consumers are looking at spending this year are companies that have decided to go down the dark path of not acknowledging DEI at their corporations and in their corporations. Whether it be service-related businesses or it be product-based businesses and the like, or businesses that have a footprint, i.e. a brick-and-mortar place of business. All that being said, there are a number of companies that have sort of held the line when it comes to DEI and their commitment. These are companies that have kept their commitment to DEI. They've kept their commitment to balance and to fairness. And they haven't bowed down to Trump and the administration and the Republicans who haven't done anything to slow this train down that he's driving and will drive into the ditch. Watch it happen. The Republicans in the House are showing that they're ready to jump off the train before it hits the tight turn. But just a couple of I'll just read some of the businesses that have stayed in the fight. Alaska Air, American Express, Apple, Ben & Jerry's, Bloomingdale, Burlington, Chase, Chili's, Costco, Delta Air, Dick's Sporting Goods, DSW, JCPenney, Honda, LL Bean, Liberty Mutual, Macy's, Marriott Hotels, Michaels, Nordstrom, Procter & Gamble, Progressive Insurance, Sally Beauty, Southwest Air, Staples, Trader Joe's, Wegmans. These are businesses, just to name a few that are on the list that I've been put together, that have decided to stay committed and not bend the knee to the Trump administration when it comes to their DEI programs. But more importantly, diversity, equity, inclusion is part of their business plan. They recognize the importance of having people working for their companies, people doing business with people who are all parts of our community. And one of the, oftentimes, at least in my observation, one of the things that happens when companies decide that they're going to be entirely inclusive in who they hire and how they build their company and have it as part of their strategy, what actually happens is people are more at peace and excited at the same time about working for companies that are inclusive versus exclusive or excluding. The data is backing that up, that the people that work for organizations where it is part of the business plan to be inclusive and to rally around diversity of all kinds, rally around inclusion and rally around equity and inclusion as it relates to making sure that everybody that's part of the business is part of the business. Those firms have tended to fare much better during tough economic times when things that cause tough economic times are out of their control. So right now, those are the types of businesses that we want to interact with and be a part of their success, because at least they've made a decision right now to not bend the knee. So kudos to them. We're going to take another quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
WCPT replay.
We are talking with retired Major General Randy Manner.
It's very important that you find these concepts of hope locally, because when it is absent from a higher level, for example, in this case, nationally, you have to look and find it, because there are these great leaders. I will tell you that I was absolutely inspired by the remarks of the governor of Illinois and the mayor of this great city when both of them gave that press conference. I was going, now those are leaders.
Yeah.
Those are people who are saying we are going to stand up for our people. In terms of the people who are listening to this now, If you live in Chicago or you live in Illinois, you should be proud of those leaders that you've elected to stand up for what is right.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather updates.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. A winter weather advisory will go into effect here this afternoon. We'll see periods of snow showers possible late today with 1 to 2 inches possible to accumulate. Cloudy skies, a high in the upper 20s. Flow of south winds around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, a good chance for some snow, 1 to 3 inches possible. Cloudy, a low near 18. Tuesday, partial sunshine develops, high around 25 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 21.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. So I was talking earlier about the Republicans stepping aside, and those that are looking at basically running for the hills. And I said this, or a version of this, last week and then yesterday on the family meeting about Marjorie Taylor Greene and her, what she's doing. And I just got a text from someone that's listening that said, if Marge really wants to break up the Trump cabal, maybe it's time to unseat Speaker Johnson. That would give all the Republicans the opportunity to come to the table. And if they can't agree, maybe Jeffries can get in. See, I agree. That's a strategic move. That if she wanted to really be it goes to show that it is not about doing the right thing. It's about doing what's politically right for her. And because if she really believed, and this is what we were talking about yesterday on the family meeting, it's about her actions rather than her words. But if she really believed, as I will say across the board with other Republicans, that what's happening is wrong and needs to be fixed on so many different issues coming from the White House and the administration, then what she would do is she would use what power she believes she has to rally other Republicans to say, we're going to stop this. We're going to make some changes. That would be wielding power. See, one of the things that we sometimes say that Republicans have power, they use it. I don't know. I don't full stop agree with that all the time, because if they really cared, because they do have the power, then they would do the thing that's right for the country, their constituents most specifically, but they're not doing that. I mean, think about it like this. I said this, and this is just to make a loose comparison about Republicans aren't all that, to use President Obama's statement. Or remember when we were in the midst of the early stages of COVID, and Donald Trump tap danced and dodged and lied and played all kinds of games about how serious it wasn't. And then the audio came out that he was being interviewed. I forgot who it was now. And basically he said, yeah, it's pretty serious. It's pretty bad. I think it was, can't think of the writer, journalist, legendary person that had caught him on recording or had him on recording. But the point I want to make about this is that in terms of Republican using the power to do the right thing, if Donald Trump, and I've said this a number of times, if Donald Trump had come out early on and said, you know what, guys, this thing is crazy bad. It's going to be tough to navigate through this, and I need you guys to all follow the guidelines and the rules, or the recommendations, rather, of the CDC. We need to protect ourselves. If he had come out in that way, I say that he would have put himself on some solid footing and potentially being won the 2020 election, because I think Americans would have potentially seen that as him galvanizing the country and pulling the country together. And a lot of people that didn't vote for him because of how he mishandled COVID may have voted for him because he handled it. That would have been wielding the power of the presidency at that time for all Americans. He didn't do that. And I don't care how deep in the tank you are as MAGA. I'll have a conversation with you 24/7 about how your boy did not do that. He did not. He ran from it like he does everything. He runs from it. In this case, the Republicans are doing the same thing. If they really wanted to wield the power that they have for all of the country, then they would stand up. This is just being honest. Think about this. they would stand up for the country and not for Donald Trump. But they're weak. So we have to stop yielding space and power in conversations with people because we're afraid to talk about politics, religion, sex, money, all the rest, and take control of the conversations and call them out like Minority Leader Jeffries did. If Republicans really, really wanted to help the country and make sure the country was in a position where it's moving forward, and these micro groups, these influencers that have big money, we really wanted to affect what they do, I believe that the Republicans would say, no, we're going to do this differently. But they're not. And going back to the text that I received, if Marjorie really wanted to have to wield the power that she does have, or the influence that she has, if she's done with being in Washington, D.C., or saying that she's going to resign, then she would have held her powder until she would have said, I'm not running for re-election, but I'm going to stick around and do the things I need to do, I believe, to help my constituency, and we're going to stop this carnage that's going on in the country. But that's not really where she is, and that's not where the Republicans are, and that's what Jeffries was trying to say. So pay attention to this right now. I've been saying this for weeks now. All of this, months, frankly, all of this craziness is in the laps of the Republicans. It's not in the laps of the Democrats. The Democrats have got to do the work. We know that. We talk about it all the time. And when that work is done, things are going to get better as Eric Grant said yesterday, when there's data-based evidence that things are getting accomplished, things are getting, they're tangible things that are getting resolved. And I've been saying my version of it, which is when we see that the country is benefiting from the things that are policy or programs that Democrats have been fighting for, that's when voters have to stand up as well and say, okay, the Democrats are getting things done. The Democrats are being leaders, not followers. But in the meantime, we have to also, in the other part of this sentence, fully recognize how awful the Republicans are. We need to vote against them and for the Democrats at the same time. We need to vote them out. And when they're talking about leaving, resigning, retiring, whatever, we need to make a big story, a big deal out of it. They failed you. They failed your community. They failed your congressional district. They failed your state legislative district. That's the messaging has to be that powerful. It has to be that face forward. So that's what I'm going to keep talking about, because in my gut, I know that that's where we have to be. Let's grab a quick call. From Al in Franklin Park. Good morning, Al. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard. On that subject, the one way that we can make a difference is with elections. And there are a lot of very local elections happening this week and next week. And that, we're making a difference for 2 years or 4 years, and some of these are won or lost by a few votes. So it's just that, everybody here should be trying to figure out if they know people in areas where the elections are happening. We know about the big ones in Tennessee and Georgia, but, like you mentioned, a couple of state ones happening here. And I can't remember where they are, but they were runoffs, and one was close. I believe that was your show last week, and we know some in Iowa. I talked to my sister. There's an Albuquerque mayoral election that is happening this week and next week. So it's these are things that can make a difference for us for the next 2 to 4 years, or we need to. These are the small elections, but they all make a difference. School board, city council, all of them. So it's just my plea for everybody to use the grapevine and try to get out there and talk to people that they know, because we want to win all these elections big as well this next couple of weeks.
Yeah, the point about local elections, how do we define what's local? Well, that's hard to say, but every election is maybe how I want to make sure I'm sort of retraining my brain to say this. Every election that goes on right now, to your point, Al, is important because it's simple. It's very simple, and maybe we've oversimplified it. They all matter because we've given up space and territory. And so taking back, whether it be, like you said, the local whatever, it starts there, and it allows us to sort of rip up the bad roots and put down some new seeds and put some people in place at a very, very local level to make sure that they're making the changes for people that live right down the street from them. It's literally that local right now. And so you're right. We do. There's a number of them, but I don't want to. Take away from any election by saying one is more important, whether it be a national congressional seat like what's going on in Tennessee, to your point, or it be a mayor's election, or a state, not a state, but a city council election in some part of the country. I think, and the way for us to highlight that, Al, I believe, is that it's very easy, because I do this all the time. It's very easy to Google elections and just put a city in, current elections in, and drop in a city, and you'll be shocked at how many things are going on. So kudos to you for reminding us once again about the importance of our local elections. So thanks for that, Al.
And that's what everybody listening should be doing, to find out if they have friends and family in those areas that can vote tomorrow or next week. I mean, it's just so important, because our adversaries are doing that. They've always paid more attention. We always have to look at the long game. I mean, we've won. We did beautiful a couple of weeks ago or last month, but now we just got to keep that momentum going forward.
I agree 1,000%. And the thing that we can't do is get bogged down in what's not perfect, but stay focused on the things that we are succeeding at. And to your point, I like that. If you've got a friend or a family member that lives in another city, reach out to them. And if wherever you're listening in the country right now, if you've got a friend or a family member in another city, reach out to them and say, hey, did you know that you guys have a mayoral election coming up, or a city council election coming up? This goes back to what I was saying about, we have to get past not talking about things. Don't be afraid to call that member of your family or text them or whatever and say, hey, Bill, Sarah, did you know that you guys have a XYZ election coming up in your state, in your community? Why not? Because if they can turn the tide, and let's make the assumption that they're voting blue, that's a win for us, even though we might be 1,000 miles away. And as I'm sure that's part of what you're saying.
Yes.
So,
and even in that respect, do you remember what the two state elections were that were mentioned? I believe it was your show last week when you were talking to somebody. They're just, I guess it could have been another show, but we were talking about a runoff state elections here in Illinois, and I wasn't able to find those under Ballotpedia right now, or find, okay, so it's just so important, and it's hard to find the information, too, sometimes.
Well, that's why we got to stay persistent in finding it. Thanks, Al, for giving us a call this morning. Have a great rest of the day. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
Let's go to a quick break. Henry, 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. Maybe you haven't heard about us. We're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless has you paying for more data than you might need. Why? They might want you to cover the costs of younger people who do use all that data. If you're not using the data, you're probably being used. We've heard time and time again that some Big Wireless customers get stuck paying hundreds and even thousands more for years and years because they think it's hard to switch. Not with us. It takes just about 20 minutes, and you can change your plan anytime without extra charges. We use the same towers as the big guys, so you'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Our plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Richard Chu's got his eyes on the truth. And you're right where you need to be. This is Chu's Views.
The Chu's Views featured interviews and full episodes podcasts are available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, TuneIn, iHeart, YouTube, and Amazon Music. Search for Chu's Views or visit our new podcast page at heartlandsignal.com/podcast. Everything from my interview with Kansas City Mayor Quentin Lucas, Mississippi State-elect Senator-elect Johnny Dupree. The list goes on. So check out our podcast by visiting heartlandsignal.com/podcast and all the rest, Spotify, Apple, TuneIn, iHeart, YouTube, Amazon. Today on Live Local and Progressive, Joan Esposito will be talking to Tamar Jacoby, director of the New Ukraine Project at the Progressive Policy Institute. You want to tune in for that. Tamar is really phenomenal, just fascinating woman, and so well locked into what's happening in Ukraine right now. Melissa Bean, Democratic candidate for Congress of the 8th Congressional District of Illinois. Project 50 Senior Advisor Terry Cosgrove. Dr. Roger A. Mitchell Jr., forensic pathologist and president of the National Medical Association. And Stacey Kess, founding editor and chief editorial of the Equal Access Public Media. That's Live, Local, and Progressive. Weekdays 2 to 5 here on WCPT, Chicago's Progressive Talk for 20 years, guys. And tomorrow on the show, Dante King, university professor, author, human resources management consultant, will be with us. Anderson Clayton, chair of the North Carolina Democratic Party. And I will have two in-studio friends and guests. Rick Kasperzak and Rico Mowat will be joining us. Wednesday, I'll be joined by Congresswoman Amelia Sykes, and Friday, Mayor Brandon Johnson. Busy week as always, Henry. All right, guys and gals and folks, we were talking about this a moment ago when Al called in, and I wanted to just kind of flow back to elections for a moment. So in Tennessee, there is a really, really big, and you know, we use these adjectives and modifiers. They're all big and they're all important, to Al's point. And in this particular case, Democratic candidate Afton Dane is within 2 points in a Tennessee House special election. And this is a district that Donald Trump won by 22 points last year. Just an amazing young woman. I think she's 36, 37 years old. And this is an opportunity for us to grab a seat that gets us that much closer to balancing the scales. And, you know, with Marjorie Taylor Greene's resignation and those no longer reducing those reliable sort of boilerplate votes from Republicans, this is an opportunity. So why am I saying this? If you're not in Tennessee and you're in another state somewhere in the country, the reason that I want to talk about this, guys, is when we talk about helping win and taking back, it is an all hands on deck situation. So if what happens on a congressional level matters, which it should, because everything that's local is regional and national. Everything that's national is regional and local. In this point in our lives, it is no longer, that's over there, I'll let them deal with it. It impacts all of us. It impacts all of us. So when we talk about these special elections in different parts of the country that you may not be even geographically close to by proximity, you might be 1,000 miles away from the state of Tennessee. But if you are truly someone that believes and is progressive and wants to see change take place that's federal, but then impacts you on a regional or local level, state or local level, this is your opportunity to participate in that success, in that change. And how do we do that? You find out who's running, going back to Al's point, you find out who's running in a different area and you find out how you can help. And, listen, small math when you put that into the context of the law of large numbers, this is an insurance term or definition, it can be massive. So across the country, if X number of people decided to contribute $5 or $3 to someone's campaign in a distant land, 1,000 miles away, and that person wins that election and it changes the numbers in that state or on a federal level or even locally, as we've said, think of the impact. You may have a family member that lives in that state, in this case, Tennessee. Afton Bain, who's running, may need your help. And you might be in Portland, Oregon, listening to this show. You might be in New York, Florida, or you might be right down the street. But think of the impact that it can have. So this is the thing that I believe we as progressive liberal Democrats have to really be willing to embrace, that we help folks outside of our area. Now, no one take this the wrong way. I'm not beating up on anybody. I'm not saying you have to do X, Y, and Z. But if you can find it in your way to help out in these elections that are in other places, that's important to us taking back the space that I talk about. I so often talk about that we have yielded. It's incremental. It isn't always going to be the big, massive, election or change. It's going to be the incremental stuff. I'm a crumbs guy. You put enough crumbs together, you got a nice little meal. You put enough, you can live well and eat healthy off of great leftovers. And nobody take that the wrong way. But think about it in terms of how it's incremental. It's the small stuff that we can do that can make change on a very, very large, in a very, very large way. So let's try to embrace that. You can go to her website, aftonbean.com, and try to help out. How do you spell her name? A-F-T-Y-N, last name B-E-H-N. Just Google her. Find out what you can do to help. You don't know. You really don't know. And what's exciting about this, in terms of some data, let me see if I can get through this real quickly that I've got highlighted. Let's see. 48% of the voters support Matt Van Epps, the Republican. 46% support Democratic candidate Afton Bain. Let's see. Those who report voting early are breaking for her at 56% to 42%. So there's a lot of early voting that's taking place right now. Voters under 40 are her biggest, strongest group. 64% support her. And older voters over 70 or close to 70 are supporting Van Epps. The gender divide is massive. By 9 points, 51% to 42% of men are breaking for 51 to 42% are breaking for Van Epps, whereas women are breaking for her 50% to 44%. And she has a 47% favorable rating among voters. His is only 40. His unfavorables are 41%. So there you go. Some numbers that might help you have a little bit better context of who she is. But get involved, guys. I don't want to overcomplicate this or oversimplify it at the same breath. But these are the things that we can do to help candidates that are running in elections that are not in our immediate area. I really believe that the more we focus on that, the more we recognize that those other areas are important, the more success we're going to have. And I'm repeating myself for a reason. I want you guys to take this seriously. Okay? I want you guys to recognize that you're not without power, that you're not without the ability to work in a way that, as I say so many times on this show, you may not be the person that's going to make phone calls. You may not be the person that's going to send out postcards. You may not be the person that's going to go to a rally or a protest or any of those things. You may be the person that can send money or can make a call to a candidate's office and say, listen, I'm just calling to let you know you got my support and that we believe in you. Even something like that is important in this moment. Whatever you can give, go ahead and give it. Don't be the person that sits back and says, gosh, I wish I had done. You don't want to be that person at this point in time when we have so many Again, going back to what Al said, so many elections in so many different places geographically throughout the country. Find out where you can help. Find out what you can do to help them, even if it means simply calling their campaign office and telling them you want to support them. And if you're, 1,000 miles away, who cares? A phone call is a pretty easy way to let someone know. They may have a way for you to send out emails to potential voters. Who knows? But you won't know that unless you reach out to someone that is potentially in need of your help and support. So I just hope that you guys can embrace that, not just with her election, Afton's election down in Tennessee, but others throughout the country, so that we can take back this space and this place that we so desperately need to take back if we're going to be a part of the solution in this country. We're going to take a quick break. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
That's the sound of the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, saving you money and energy. With rebates on Energy Star appliances, so you can come back to a home full of savings. Discover more ways to save at ComEd.com/home savings. ComEd, powering lives.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You need someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now you can meet them fast on ZipRecruiter.
Build your team, build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. President Trump says he's invited the family of U.S. Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, the National Guard member fatally shot last week, to the White House. Speaking aboard Air Force One, Trump was asked about Beckstrom and U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, who remains in critical condition.
I have spoken to both families. Well, I mean, I can give you an update. They're devastated. Does that make sense to you? Of course. They're devastated. Can you give us an update on Angel? Well, as you know, the one is no longer with us, and Andrew is fighting for his life. And his parents are unbelievably great people, highly religious people.
The suspect, a 29-year-old Afghan national, faces 1 count of first-degree murder and 2 counts of assault with intent to kill while armed in the shooting. Wednesday's shooting prompted the Trump administration to halt all asylum decisions and pause issuing visas for people traveling on Afghan passports. In Florida, U.S. and Ukrainian officials completed roughly 4 hours of talks yesterday. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told reporters after the session that the talks were productive, but work remains in the search for a peace deal. Rustem Umerov, head of Ukraine's Security Council, said the focus is the future of Ukraine.
We are discussing about the future of Ukraine, about the security of Ukraine, about no repetition of aggression of Ukraine, about prosperity of Ukraine, about how to rebuild Ukraine.
In Lebanon, Pope Leo XIV is visiting holy sites. The American Pope is seeking to send a message to Christians not to abandon the region. Over the past few decades, hundreds of thousands of Christians have left parts of the Middle East for good and the rise of Muslim extremists. He challenged Lebanon's political leaders to be true peacemakers and put their differences aside. This is AP News. Today's Cyber Monday could be a record-setting day for online sales.
Cyber Monday could break spending records despite economic uncertainty. The post-Thanksgiving shopping marathon wraps up today, Cyber Monday. Deals that have been promoted as some of the best of the holiday season are expected to keep people across the United States glued to their computers and smartphones. Adobe Analytics estimates U.S. shoppers will spend $14 billion online today. That's 6% 10% more than last year. Consumers already exceeded Adobe's forecasts by spending nearly $12 billion online on Black Friday and another $6 billion Thanksgiving Day. Deals on electronics and apparel are expected to peak today, but analysts say rising retail prices may contribute to any record sales figures that materialize. I'm Mike Hempen.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. A winter weather advisory will go into effect here this afternoon. We'll see periods of snow showers possible late today with 1 to 2 inches possible to accumulate. Cloudy skies, a high in the upper 20s. We'll have south winds around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, a good chance for some snow, 1 to 3 inches possible. Cloudy, a low near 18. Tuesday, partial sunshine develops, high around 25 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 21.
Straight Talk knows the best holiday gift is simply saying yes.
Yes, you can stay up late. Sure, more cookies. Of course we can watch that movie again.
That's why we give you real unlimited data, so you can say yes to all of your family's streaming, scrolling, and sharing. And now at Straight Talk, get another gift worth giving, a free 5G phone with select plans. Because yes is the best gift to give.
Yes!
And receive. Available at straighttalk.com and Walmart. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us this morning. Of course, the number 773-763-9278. So over the course of the last couple of weeks, and what I mean by that is a point of demarcation. It's going back to the elections on November 4th. Lots of people have been, excited. Like, what's next? How are we going to capitalize on this? And I think one of the easiest ways, best ways to capitalize on what took place in those elections across the country, is that we once again have shown that when we show up, we get stuff done. And when we make a point of being involved rather than sitting back and saying that's somebody else's fight, then we get stuff done and we protect people and we move the ball forward. And that's why you guys hear this in my voice, I believe. I hope you do every day. I'm so passionate about this. We want to be able to move things forward. That is part of being progressive, is to find, and a lot of people don't like that word. And I get that. I respect that people don't like that word. I'm not saying it for people to like it. What I'm saying is I want people to recognize the importance of we have to move forward. And sometimes racers move this. If you're not moving forward, you're being passed by. And so right now, that's kind of where we are. We've got to move forward. And I didn't mean to botch that racing analogy, but when you are sitting still, you're not moving forward, and when others will pass you by. So when we look at this politically, if we're not taking advantage of our wins and keeping our momentum up, then we're being passed by. We cannot look at this. We cannot look at what happened on November 4th as a blip on the screen. We have to look at it as we made some moves. Now let's take that momentum and magnify it and increase that. So I just wanted to remind, that's why that's a big part of the reason I was talking so much about trying to help out in elections outside of your area. That's keeping the momentum up and moving and working forward. I just feel that that's kind of where we are. Henry, let's take can we take a quick break?
Sure. I just got to go to commercial.
Yeah, let's do that real quickly so we can work around a couple quick things. So just keep that in mind. Keep fighting. Stay in the game. Do not lose the momentum. And if there's ways for you to find tools to get involved, then let's do that. We're going to take a quick break. 773-763-9278. We'll be right back.
Today might be the day I drop out of school. Today could be the last day I try. But you might be able to stop me. With United Way, you could tutor me, be my mentor, or volunteer to just read with me. If someone had helped me earlier, I might not be struggling. And studies prove that kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. There are tons of ways people like you can help kids like me stay in school. And United Way is calling for you to be one of them. Make me a success, not a statistic.
Take the pledge to volunteer now at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
A frog in boiling water and it'll jump right out. But put a frog in cool water and slowly heat it up, that frog will boil. As veterans, we tell ourselves the lie that we can handle anything. We let the water boil. You are not a frog. If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach. Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
All right, guys, we are back and doing what we do on a Monday morning. Holiday season is upon us, and one of the things that when I talked earlier about the places to be in terms of the stores and where you want to shop and all that, let me be careful. I'm not telling you where to go shop. I got a couple like, hey, what if I want to go there? So just let me be clear and clean up on aisle 7. I'm not telling you where to go shop. I'm just telling you that those stores, those businesses are ones that have kept their DEI protocols and so forth up. And that's exciting to see. So I just wanted to give you guys that bit of information, not tell you, hey, go buy all your stuff from XYZ store. Just know that if you are a progressive liberal Democrat, you want to attend the fight, that those are businesses that have not kneeled to Donald Trump. And that's why I was saying that. So don't take that the wrong way, guys. Just wanted to make sure I'm clear about that. A little, not so much a cleanup, but a dust up of things. Just kind of sweeping that one up a little bit. So there you go. Again, looking forward to tomorrow's show as well. We've got our good friend Rico Mawat will be with us. Always great to have Rico in studio. And another one of my great friends and political voices, Rick Kasperzak, will be with us. So it'll be a rocking, fun show, and they'll be in studio. And then we'll be also talking with Dante King, author and professor, and then one of the political voices from North Carolina that'll be with us, and that is Anderson Clayton. So yeah, guys, we'll be as the phrase goes, we'll have all of our oars in the water tomorrow to make sure that we bring you guys the best show that we can bring you. So looking forward to that. We should in a little bit have our guest General Honoré with us. Just waiting to get that connection squared away, and hopes that we can drive that conversation in the direction that we want to go. So it was funny this weekend, Henry, looking at all the snow that fell. Sometimes you don't really get a sense of how much has fallen. And but one way for sure is to go out and sweep off a car that hasn't been swept off during the entire snowfall. And then you realize, oh yeah, we got 6 inches of snow. We got a lot. And man, I tell you, the shoveling, this there's no question that as you get older, shoveling snow is the thing that it's like the least outdoor activity to do that I like to do. I love doing yard work. I love being out and doing things, but it's becoming more and more of a not want to do thing, and that's shoveling snow because of the weight of it and the possibility of slipping. But I will say this, I did pace myself because a couple of times I was like, I just been shoveling for 5 minutes without a break. I'm like, I gotta take a break here. But yeah, that is the thing I didn't mention when I was talking about being safe in your commuting. If you got to shovel some snow, you guys, please be safe and be mindful of that, because it is great exercise, but don't be out there putting yourself at risk, putting your back and your body at risk, and stepping awkwardly and all that sort of stuff. And I was teased by my crazy cousin Eric Grant said to me, "Why don't you hire some young kid to do that?" And I thought, yeah, I guess I could. But, what I don't see a lot, and of course, this is always kind of an aging thing. I remember kids in the neighborhood. I mean, I was one of those kids, right? Shoveling snow and making extra dough when we were kids. So we do look for those days. We would love to have more, little armies of kids working around the neighborhoods shoveling snow, but it isn't always the case. So, I got out and did it, and my neighbor did the same thing. So we were able to kind of get things cleared up for safety. But just as an added reminder, guys, that's the one I forgot to say earlier when I was talking about your commute, is making sure that you are not, if you're shoveling snow, that you're not putting yourself in harm's way. So there you go. And because it's coming, we're going to have more. I think we're going to get another potential 2 to 3 inches here in Chicago. So if you're here in the area, just be careful. Same thing goes for those in other parts of the upper Midwest in these next 3 months of whatever we're going to get. I've heard different stories that it's going to be a light winter in terms of the snow, but very, very cold. And I've had others that have said it's going to be a lot of snow, not like we've had for over 10 years. So who knows? I've heard that. We've heard that before, and then suddenly, we don't get what the prediction is. So we'll see what happens. I wanted to also put this out there for you guys as we go forward in 2026 next year. We're going to have we're going to spend more time, or more, I guess not. I shouldn't say more time. We're going to add the amount of time we spend to on our conversations around folks that are running for elections. And I forgot to mention that earlier when Al called in. We're going to do our best to make sure that we're covering more of the elections, more of the debates, having people on that can speak to the issues that you guys have as concerns. We really are going to lean into that. So I'm excited about what we'll do next year in that space here on my show and the other shows. So it'll be a lot of fun. It'll keep everybody posted and plugged in, and things to do as we get, as we get closer to the midterms for next year. So cool. All right, guys, we're getting closer. Just sit tight. We got General Honoré on his way. Oh, man, too funny, Henry. So, yeah, next year, pay attention, because we will definitely be bringing you more and more candidate calls, candidate interviews, taking advantage of the upcoming midterm elections, and taking advantage of the smaller, I say smaller elections, but the local elections might be a better way of describing it. And as we do that, I think this will also be our way of contributing to you guys being involved in the process of fixing some of these problems that we have right now when it comes to elections in local markets as well as the national scene. So I'm excited about that. And, we don't, we aren't going to be, necessarily picking sides in terms of which candidate necessarily, but we will be talking to as many as possible so that we can give you guys as much information about them, and you can make the decisions that you need to make in terms of who's the better choice. And most certainly when we've got on candidates that are running for our national seats, and here in Illinois, we've got the U.S. Senate and we've got a couple congressional seats. Those are going to be some interesting conversations. And, we've already had certain people on, from Lieutenant Governor to Robin Kelly to Raja Krishnamurthy, that are running for Dick Durbin's seat. And we've had some other people on that are running for congressional seats. Joan has done that. Patty's done that as well. So we will be the place to go, the place to turn to for our for coverage on 2026's elections that are federal as well as state and local elections. So we will definitely do our best to keep you tuned in that space. So it's going to be kind of fun, I think. So we'll and this week, in fact, we've got Amelia Sykes will be with us on Wednesday. who's already in office, but she's obviously going to be running for her seat again next November. So it'll be great to talk with her, and it'll be great for her to be able to share what she's dealing with in Ohio and the amount of money that's being thrown at the elections in Ohio. So Republicans, this is what's interesting about this. Republicans don't have the idea base that Democratic candidates and elected officials have. That's been proven. The Republicans' position is, let's take things away. Let's remove these programs. Let's end these programs, and to no end other than to hurt people. That's really what's happened. And Ohio is a great example, because the folks that have run and have become elected in Ohio, Republicans, my goodness, they're destroying the state. They just are. There's no other way of putting it. They are causing harm to the state of Ohio. They're not putting in people that are going to benefit. And whether these be the local sheriff's offices, which we've been fortunate to have a few people on by way of our good friend Kurt Herner in Akron, or it'd be a statewide election. The folks that are running in Ohio, and this is true in many ways in Indiana, when we talk to our friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63, they're not putting candidates, the Republicans, in place or running candidates that are about making changes. They are, or I should say, changes that are going to be better for the community, better for the state. They're bringing in people that just are taking away things. So that's the other reason why it's really important to help those candidates who are running in states that are candidates that are about making change. The more we do that, the better. And that's why we're going to keep talking about it and having those folks on. So there you go. My little morning pep talk on who and how we have to be when it comes to folks running in different elections across the country. How are we looking, Henry? Good to go? I think so. All right, let's see if we can do this thing. All right, guys, there's leadership and then there's not. And there are people who have been what I would say the champions of that. And you guys remember, those who've been around long enough, remember that one of the biggest tragedies, weather-related tragedies that our country has ever experienced, took place just over 20 years ago in late August of 2005. And that was the tragedy of the storm Katrina that hit Louisiana, the Gulf Coast, Gulf of Mexico. And there's so many parts that made this a tragedy. Obviously, the most important, or the number one thing, are the lives lost and the livelihoods that were lost. But in my life, one of the things that's always been important is to look to the people who are leaders when there are crises. And in my lifetime, there's been a number of them. But in recent times, there's one name that stands out, that stood out during one of the worst tragedies in America. And he is truly the definition of a history maker and a patriot. And that would be our guest this morning, retired Army General Russel Honoré. Good morning, sir, and welcome to Choose Views on WCPT.
Good morning. How we doing up there? You got a little snow this morning, huh?
What do you know about snow, General? What do you know about snow?
I know it could mess a mayor up. It'll take a mayor out of the next race if you don't do it right.
Oh, yeah. We go back to the 70s when that happened here in Chicago, and it's happened in other places. So, sir, it is, I was telling a handful of people, they said, you're going to be interviewing General Honoré. I heard, yeah. I said, how do you feel? I said, I'm nervous as hell, But, sir, it's good to have you with us this morning on the show, and I really appreciate it. I know you've received so many accolades over the years for your military service, your leadership during Katrina, and then since you've been retired and things that you've done. But I want to say this from so many people that I've talked to in the last few days. We really do appreciate how your longevity has meant so much to so many people. And literally, you're standing in the void, which is a phrase that I use a lot when it comes to people doing what you've done in your career. It is bigger than just Katrina, but candidly, that's when so many people came to know you because of the way in which you stepped up and said, put those guns away and turn those guns away from people talk a little bit about how your life has unfolded in the last 20 years and what things you've really been, focused on and what's been important to you since, I hate to use anniversary, but since this 20-year tragedy took place in our country.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to be with you this morning and share with some thoughts and ideas with folks. I hadn't spent much time thinking about an answer to such a deep question because I'm normally too busy. I did figure one thing out after I retired. If all you do is eat breakfast in the morning and then figure out where you're going to lunch, that was a dead-end job. So I left myself open to do volunteer work with the Red Cross. I started an organization called the Green Army, missions to find solutions for pollution. And I've successfully stayed out of running for public office. And that to itself was a challenge for a while because folks tried to drag me into wanting to run for office, and that's not something I wanted to do. But I've stayed busy because there's an old saying, when you work for free, you get a lot of work. So I do consulting work, and I focus a lot on the environment, and we run the Honoré Center for Student Achievement at Southern University in New Orleans, where we educate black male teachers for the classroom. And that's at Southern University in New Orleans. It's called the Honoré Center for Student Achievement. And that takes a good bit of time because we have a full ride scholarship. When they graduate, they're clean. They go in the classroom and teach. They don't have to worry about loans or nothing. We take care of all that because we fully fund their education so we can get more black male teachers in the classroom. So that's about it on a good day. And I still go out and do public speaking occasionally when my speakers bureau line me up with something. So I'm living a good life, and I have 2 horses, something to keep me balanced. So I got to touch grass twice a day and not be too consumed with the news.
Yeah, and that's not an easy thing to do, but when you have a plan, it's easier to accomplish those things. And you have been of that mindset. Everything that I've learned about you over the last 20 years has been, it's about planning, it's about preparedness, it's about knowing what's the reality of things that can happen, because we have history that can teach us if we pay attention to it, and then saying, okay, how do we avoid this, or in some cases prevent this from being a problem in the future? And you've been a big advocate about preparedness. And obviously, if we go back and look at what happened during Katrina, you would probably say, not to put words in your mouth, but we had data, we had information, but we weren't prepared. And so you have taken that and gone forward to make sure that we're preparing ourselves better for the future, not just with climate, but education and so many other areas. Talk a little bit about that, if you would.
Well, I think if you fail to prepare, that's a self-inflicted wound, particularly on events that you could see, seasonal events, whether it be seasonal events, such as this blizzards that's going through the northern tier of the country now. If you fail to prepare, and you put your life at risk, and you could put others at risk. So we all must do our part in terms of prepare. And then we've got the big weather risks like the hurricanes. Be known that yesterday was the end of hurricane season. Yay! Because that's always a big one that terrorized the people in the hurricane zone. But on a daily basis, we are faced with what could happen in and around our home with fires and gas leaks. So we have to have a head on a swivel. We have a lot of conveniences, but all those conveniences can bring emergency to our home. I work with the Red Cross as a volunteer, and we go out and we put the fire alarms in homes because this time of year we have a lot of fires and carbon monoxide sensors in people's home. And we do that, and the Red Cross do that for you for free. All you gotta do is put your hand up and say, yeah, I want it. And you can go on their website and they'll come put one in for you. So there's no skipping on the preparedness. It's like making a good gumbo. If you don't make the roux, it's not going to be right. And you can't. We got to reduce our risks in this world because there are a lot of risks associated with a lot of the conveniences we have that people need to be prepared for.
Yeah, and that I like the gumbo analogy because I would agree. You got to start with a good foundation and then you build from there. I mean, my learnings that I've had over the years all go back to some of those well-rooted lessons from my parents, who both are originally from Mississippi and understand a lot of that knowledge and ways of being. Right now, General, the thing that I think a lot of people in this country are craving for is stout, consistent, forward-thinking leadership. And I know that a lot of people don't see that. They see a lot of talk. They see a lot of people running around, kind of like scattered cats, if you will, but not some real definitive leadership. What are your observations there, and what do you see as a solution or solutions going forward in that space?
Is people need to stay grounded in the Constitution and the amendments. What we see, there's been loss of confidence because democracy is a wonderful thing, but it's fragile. And I see too many politicians waver from their obligation to follow the Constitution, and that's on all sides, and fail to follow the amendments to the Constitution and follow the law. And some of the biggest failures we've had of national level leaders, and the ones that have fallen the most, and then those with moral issues have been the biggest ones to fall from grace. And that goes back in recent history. If we look at Nixon, his abuse of the law, his abuse of rights and privileges he had as a president, and he fell from grace. That is the biggest failure I see on the national and international stage, when people fail to use their political office to serve themselves and not serve the people, or to serve their friends and not serve the people. That can happen in a democracy, because a democracy is based on truth, and truth has a weak backbone in America today. Because much of a democracy is based on trust. We trust you are who you are when you go vote. We trust that if you are driving the bus that you are sober. We trust that if you fly the airplane, you're not on some opioids. I mean, it's based on trust. That's what amplifies our freedom as a people, that people are going to do what they say going to do, and they're going to, because it affects other people's lives. And I think that's, if it's not an erosion, it might have always been there, because America had never been perfect. We'll not act like we lived at a time when America was perfect. This shit ain't never been perfect. Never. Never in history. I argue with people like that all the time. Well, I wish you would like the good old days. When was them good old days for you, bro?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that period when everything was perfect. It never been perfect. We're still a work in progress.
I would agree wholeheartedly about not being perfect, and it's definitely one we're a work in progress. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu, and we are talking with retired General Russel Honoré and getting so much good reminders and lessons on leadership, but more importantly on truth and trusting one another. And so that leads me to my question that what would you say right now is your North Star, General? What is it that at this point, I mean, you just back in September turned 78. You've been doing this for a while. You've been out here serving and leading and all these things for so many people for such a long time. But at this point in your life, what's your North Star, and what are some of the things that keep you still mindful of what you're able to do at this point in your life?
Well, to remind people that a functioning democracy has a functional level of two sides. Because if we didn't have two sides, we would have a democracy. We would have a monarchy or dictatorial. So it's imperative to have two strong sides, because somewhere in the middle, we get to a sweet spot normally, usually, generally. And the movie that was recently on LPB, The Revolution, while it has its own twist to it, knowing a little bit about history, it amplifies something that we see playing out today in America. Are people going to be loyal to a leader, or are they going to be patriots to the Constitution and to the law? And there's still a big segment of America who demonstrate their love for America based on being loyalists. So regardless of what is said that comes out of the administration, they're loyal to it, even when they see it's wrong. Like some of the stuff was going on in Chicago a few weeks ago, and may still be going on, where grandmothers were being thrown to the ground under the headline deportation, or priests shot in the head with a non-lethal weapon at close range while he was praying. We don't do stuff like that in America. And people go along with it because they've gotten on the loyalist train. Well, guess what? I talk about it because we need to amplify that. I'm a patriot. I believe in my freedom. I believe in my liberty, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and everybody should have that. And we're a nation of immigrants. Let us not forget. All of us. Some of them came on their own, and some of us came unwillingly, blocked and bound in the bottom of a ship. So we all got here by different ways, but we're a nation of immigrants. And we must not forget that. Should we have open borders? No. Everything should be controlled in these current times. If not for nothing else, for national security, but also to meter in, because as a nation, we need those essential workers, and what we refer to them as essential workers. But those people come for America for opportunity and for freedom. They're not trying to get into Russia. They're not trying to get into China. All that smack China talk about don't lead the world. Nobody rushing to go to China. Nobody rushing to go to North Korea or India. Many of them want to come to America. And for good reason, because it's the promise of liberty and freedom. The same thing that inspired our forefathers who were bound by chain, and fought for this nation in the Revolutionary War, should inspire all of us today to try to make America what we said we were going to be in the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the amendments. Because without the amendments, the Constitution is an address without a roadmap on how the hell to get there. And that's what the amendment gave us. And yet today, we see the Supreme Court say, well, is birthright citizen a right? Well, hell yeah, it's a right. It's an amendment in the Constitution, bro.
I'm sure there are people that are just laughing and cheering to that. Yeah, hell yeah, it's a right. It's an amendment in the Constitution that couldn't be stated by anybody as well as you, General Honoré. You, one of the things that I have to say is so many people who watched you, and we'll have a little bit of fun here, I guess, not too much at your expense. During Katrina, there are lives that were saved or prevented from being put in a worse situation because not of just your leadership and you're in the moment, this is what we've got to do, but the humor that you brought to a tragic situation. I will say to you that part of what kept me so plugged in the moment is watching how you were able to navigate tricky waters, no pun intended, but you did it with humor and spot on, unyielding leadership. And I've always wondered how you were able to blend that into the situation when this tragedy was so upon so many people. How you blended that kind of stern leadership and a sense of humor at the same time.
Well, it wasn't intentional. There's an old saying, regardless of what job you go to, stick with your values. Follow the law, stick with the values, stick with the norms. And I think that message at the time was what resonated with the people who were watching. With the people on the street, they were as frustrated with me as anybody else because they wanted a damn ride out of town.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember walking around the Superdome before we got the people out of there. I was walking over to go see the mayor. He was in the adjacent building, and a couple of National Guard guys walking behind me with M16 variant of assault rifle. I said, "Okay, put them on your back. We're gonna walk through this crowd." And one of the guys yell out, say, "Hey, bruh," in the New Orleans vernacular, "Hey, bro, you gonna get us out of here?" And another guy said, "That brother named Honoré, I think he gonna get it done." And that's all I needed. We had a need for speed. People in Washington was looking at a goddamn calendar, and I was looking at a clock, and that's the difference. That's why "You're doing a good job, Brown," it didn't resonate with the American people, because we had to move people. Not excuses. Let's get it done. This is America. We can do this. But at the same time, the storm had a vote. The city was 80% underwater. The airport was closed. The river was closed. And the major interstate coming into town. So it's a logistical challenge, not a security challenge. And we had to remind people of that. And in essence, working hard with the National Guard, Louisiana National Guard did a great job. The first responders in New Orleans did the best they could because many of their vehicles were underwater. But if it was easy, it would have been done on the first day. We're talking about getting through things that were hard. It wasn't because who the people were in New Orleans. I don't believe, I disagree with what our fellow Americans said because it was black people. No, it was because of logistics. And the storm had a damn vote. Mm-hmm. And it was going to take days to get people out there. That's what it took. And we got them out.
And that's why preparedness, because we now have we have history on our side if we use it to learn and to make better decisions going forward. New Orleans, just topographically and geographically, is designed in a way that it's susceptible, and the perfect storm, no pun intended, happened. And you know from being there that I like the way you put that, the storm had a vote in this. And so what we have to do going forward, and I think this is so true across the country, we have to use history as a tool to learn to build a stronger country and to build a stronger society and, frankly, build a stronger world. And so when we talk about history right now, you were doing such a great job with education and building in that space. How is your initiative, Green Army, taking that history in terms of environment and using that to make for a better way, not just in Louisiana, but really in your impact throughout the country?
Well, if I may, I'll come to that. Let me walk back one point, because everybody, able-bodied person with some ability can make a difference. Most of the bodies or remains we found in New Orleans were elderly, disabled, and poor people, in some cases all three, and they were home alone.
Mm-hmm.
Get that? They were home alone.
Yeah.
And the assumption is somebody was going to get Mrs. Thibodeau out of there, and nobody did.
Got it.
And in some cases, we had bad rules. We would send vehicles to get people that we knew that were bedridden at home. They got there, and the ambulance went in to get him, and she said, well, I got to take my dog with me. And they said, well, you can't take a dog in the ambulance. That's against state law. And she didn't leave.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, again, that was the first law to change after Katrina, the pet law, that if you're having a shelter, you got to have a place for people's pet. Because there were literally some people that didn't leave because they wouldn't leave their pets. And there was no way to transport them with their pets. So they stayed home. But the obligation to our neighbors that on our street, we know somebody who is homebound. There are people right now in Chicago, based on how much snow y'all got, that's checking on their neighbors.
Yep.
And then those who are taking a sip of coffee this morning and they're worried, I wonder if Mrs. Smith is okay next door. Check on your neighbors, because that's an American tradition. It goes back through the history of our country and a human condition, that the people next to us, those that are less fortunate or those that we know can't get to the store on a good day, may need help, because they're some of the first to perish in a disaster like Katrina. And I hope that piece makes sense. Organize your block, so if you got to evacuate, you make sure somebody has got the disabled, the elderly, and those without rides to get them out of there, because the best way to stay alive in a major disaster, if evacuation is called for, is to get out of there and get everybody. Leave nobody behind. Don't leave your neighbor behind, and take care of your tribe. You got elderlies, people disabled, people on hard time. Check on them and spread your blessing on those less fortunate among us. That's the American spirit. That's the way this nation was built, from the pioneers to our people scattered in the woods and bayous of Louisiana just to survive. They counted on one another, and we cannot lose that a part of the American culture.
One of the things, and thank you for saying that, General, one of the things that I try to do with this show is to spread that message, or that part of the message, is to reach out and make the dotted line a solid line. Know where people are, check in on folks. And I do it to some extent, talking about it from a political standpoint, but also from a social standpoint, how important it is to organize locally, to know what's going on down the street. How's Miss Jones doing? How's Mr. Jones doing, et cetera. And the more that we do that, the easier I believe it is when there is a tragedy, when there is an issue that could be something as simple as 6 or 8 inches of snow, God forbid, tornadoes and hurricanes. And the more that we do that, the better we are. We know it's kind of common sense, but in many ways we've gotten away from it with progress in technology and all those things. But that's not laying blame. It's just saying let's take responsibility, and a better responsibility for each other. And I think that is going to do so much for us if we can just kind of humble ourselves, you might say, to that effort. It makes for a better country. And I'm sure you probably agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, organize your street. I tell the people in New Orleans all the time. Before the beginning of hurricane season, organize your street. We like to party, have a block, a social, like our people used to do, have a supper. People bring something. We sat out there and said, okay, let's match everybody up to, if we have to evacuate, who's taking who that needs a ride, and who's home alone. And it's just the Americans' thing to do for our neighbors, and organize your street and leave nobody behind.
Yeah, that's the great words. General Honoré, I could just talk. I guess I should get on a plane, fly down to New Orleans, and just come visit you and sit on your front porch and bring some cigars, and then we can sit and have a conversation because there's so much to ask you and so much to talk to you about. But I appreciate you taking some time to hang out with us this morning. I know our listeners all over the country appreciate that and what you've done in service, not just in your military career, but since then, and all the work that you've done with Green Army. And we really do thank you for that. And I hope that there'll be a time that we can have you back on the show to talk more about the current work that you're doing. And I'm going to check in on you because, we want to make sure that your health is good and that you're staying strong. Does that sound fair?
That's beautiful. And remember, the mission of the Green Army is to find solutions for pollution.
Solutions for pollution. Absolutely.
How do we save Mother Earth by reducing the amount of methane going in the air and the carbon, and find solutions for pollution? And we've got to save our water. Only 1% of the Earth's water is drinkable. And we flush our toilets and it end up in our water, surface water that we then got to clean to drink. So we all got an obligation to be engaged on the quality of our water and the quality of our air and the quality of our land. That's a human right. And we all need to participate in that at the local level. You got to go to that county meeting or that district meeting or city meeting. You got to be engaged and challenge them. If you don't believe me, ask the people in Flint, Michigan. You got to be engaged.
Yeah.
We can't be victims here. We can't allow ourselves to be victims, because too often than not, the politicians will let us down.
Yeah, and that's a power that we have, is not being victim, feeling victimized, but it does start, going back to what you said, to the importance of connecting with the people in your neighborhood, on your block, on your street, because then you've got that strength of immediate folk to be able to push for these better, more important things that we have to have. So that's just great messaging and great information from you. I'm going to tease you a little bit. LSU, I know you didn't get
They got the money. They walked in with a bucket of money and private jets, and we ain't got that, man. They got it. But he might be like the dog that caught the bumper. You know, we're going to see what happens here in the coming months and years. It's a very volatile situation in college football.
Yeah.
And it's a great thing for our culture and our sanity to turn the football game on. But this one had a lot of politics in it. So hopefully we learned the lesson there, and everybody learned the lesson as we go forward. And they have a good competitive team. And also Southern University, my alma mater, HBCU, they hired another coach. And he's going to arrive at 2 o'clock this afternoon on Southern campus. And I've been invited to go there. And I'll probably go see Coach Falk. And I go see Coach Kiffin this afternoon. But there'll be a big reception for 2 college football coach coming to Baton Rouge today is the biggest news in town. When he arrived last night, they gave him a presidential level escort from the airport to the university with motorcycle escort, black presidential level SUVs, and they blew him into town in a big way. So let's see how all that works out.
Absolutely. General Honoré, thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate it. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Enjoy your day and your travels. Travel safely, and we'll keep in touch with you as well. Sound good?
God bless America.
Thank you.
Take care of your neighbors.
Will
God
do.
bless you.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day. Bye-bye. All right, guys. How about that? General Honoré hanging out with Choose Views this morning. And as you can tell, lots to say about things that are important to us. But some of the takeaways, check in on your neighbors, know what's going on. Don't wait till the last minute. Those are some things that, I feel proud to have said my own versions of that over the last, weeks and months, that we have to be willing to take care of each other, reach out, know what's going on, get involved, organize in your own community. That's, it's base level, it's foundational as part of what we can do to improve where we are right now. Grassroots, whatever your label is, but it's effective. So kudos to the General for being with us this morning. Do we have time to grab a couple of quick calls before we wrap up? Henry, let's try to do that. All right, let's go to Andrew real quickly in Detroit. Andrew, good morning and welcome to Choose Views.
I was going to talk on a completely different subject, but oh my God, what a wonderful person. He needs to be cloned. They've got to figure out cloning immediately. Oh.
Yeah, I know. I know, man.
And tomorrow's interview, I don't know. I'm not going to recover from these 2 days. I'm not. So I'm changing the topic. my topic into that topic. I was taught years and years ago from some business meeting we had. There are leaders and there are managers.
Yeah.
A leader can manage, but a manager can't lead. Leaders are born. You can't make a leader. You can't teach a leader. You can't train a leader. They are born.
Yeah.
And you can hear it. You can hear it in their voices. That man did not take a second to answer your questions in a leadership manner.
No, it's part of who he is.
Right off the top of his head, because that's who he is.
It's in his
That's
DNA.
his genetic makeup.
It's in his DNA.
Exactly.
He knows what he stands for and what he believes in. Andrew, and he's unyielding about it. And there's a certain part of that. There's a certain draw to that kind of quality of leadership and quality of human being, unflinching. And I was so honored to have him on. Nervous as hell, as I said, about having him on because he doesn't take any stuff, and he cuts it right down the line. And so it was great to have him on this morning. And Andrew, as always, it's great to hear from you. I hope you're doing well. I hope your health is good, and that you're hanging tight there in Detroit.
Thank you, Richard. Have a great day.
Will do. Be well. Bye-bye. Let's go to Azalee real quickly as we wrap up the show this morning. Good morning, Azalee. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Richard. So good to hear you again. But Alvin asked me to call you with this. Okay, so blame Alvin. That leader that you had, General Honoré. I grew up in New Orleans. Okay.
Yeah.
In Louisiana, New Orleans, and I know that name. Probably don't know him, but that's a common, last name in that area.
Yep.
So I said, I wonder if I know his family. But yeah, he is a great man. You can just tell it. And there's another great man who said, "The truth shall set you free." The truth shall set you free. So that means if you don't have truth, you are in bondage. You're not free. So we in our country, we think we're free. No, we're not, because we don't have truth. And one of the reasons, Richard, we don't have truth is that we listen to the wrong message. I'm going to make this as short as I can. Well, I got to make it short anyway. But there is a group out there that's calling themselves the right wing. Okay, so words have meaning, right?
Yeah.
And so I wrote this. I can't do the whole thing, but I wrote this especially for them. These what do they say? The right wing politicians, aka conservative Republicans. That's who they are, and they don't tell us the truth. So my little title says, "When you are right." Okay, that's very important. When you are right, because you're calling yourself right. Okay, it really starts like a song. Like kids see you do something, kids see each other do something wrong, and what do they say? "Ooh, I'm gonna tell Mama, or I'm gonna tell the teacher, because you did that wrong."
Right.
They didn't see, but I'm gonna tell her. Ooh, and so my song goes like this. I'm just gonna do a little part of. Ooh, when you're right, you don't do wrong. 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 It is right to care for our children. It is wrong to let gun violence murder them. It is right to help the elderly. It is wrong to take away their Medicare. And I go through this whole song.
Wow.
And these things that they are doing to us, and they are saying they are right, and some people believe them. So when we don't have the truth, we can't do any better.
Well,
so
that's
we got to get that. Yeah. Okay, go on, Rich.
No. Azalee, thank you for that, and for the little morning song that you gave us today. But what General Honoré said about trust is so important. And right now, I think that the more we can instill a sense of trust from our leaders, the better our country is going to be, because there's a lack of trust. We know it. He said it without flinching. And so it just reminded me of my responsibility in that space in terms of doing what I can do to add to the trust of what the show represents and add to the trust of what our messaging is to you guys. So, Azalee, songwriter of the day, we thank you for giving us a holler.
You know what I said I was going to do? Richard, you know what I said I was going to do? I said, I'm going to tell Jasmine Crockett about my song, see if she can use it.
There you go.
Because, truth is truth. We need truth. We don't need these lies.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, so thanks, Richard.
Thanks, Azalee.
And,
have a good day
I'll
today.
talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye now. She's great, guys. And again, great to have General Honoré with us this morning. I'm kind of at a loss for words, and I mean that in the most positive of ways because of what he said. But just, remember the words. And I've been trying to jot down as much as I can of some of the things that he said. But play this one back for yourselves. Send it to people that you care about that need to be reminded of the good things that we can do if we just allow ourselves to do them. So thanks for being with us as always. Thanks to my man Henry for hanging out today, keeping us on the rails. Stay tuned for the Stephanie Miller Show. And remember, take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you tomorrow.
This is Tony Moret. I'm an estate planning attorney who drafts living trusts and wills for my clients. You have probably heard my ads here on WCPT for the last few years. Your fellow listeners, when we have completed their plans, say, I wish I had done this sooner. It wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it would be. We can complete your estate plan within 30 days or less. There are certainly decisions that need to be made, but my 30-plus years of experience will help guide you through this process. There may never be a perfect time to start, but whenever I'm asked when is the best time,